What's up, guys? This is Chad at All Dogs Off-Road, and today we've got quite a project that's going to happen. My 22 Nissan Frontier was one of the first Frontiers on the lot in Lincoln, Nebraska, and for just about 66,000 miles now, it's been absolutely trouble-free. Regular maintenance, oil changes, and the sort of thing like that. Now that we're getting up to higher mileage, we're starting to see some items wear and will need some replacing. At about 59,000 miles, I had a leak at my front main seal, and that was covered by warranty. But now that I'm outside the 60,000 mile powertrain warranty, I get to DIY rather than punt things off to the dealer. Now, a few weeks ago, I noticed that my transmission pan was wet. You can see that it's just soaked all around on the outside. And I thought, well, shoot, you know, these polymer pans, maybe the pan has started leaking or something like that. And I took it down to the Nissan dealership and had new pan and gasket installed. And I also had a transmission flush done. You should be doing them around every 40 or 50,000 miles, I think. I don't recall what the manual calls for, but I was well overdue for a transmission service. So I had them take care of that. While doing some research and watching some videos on YouTube of other guys that have done transmission service, I realized that the fluid that gets put into the Nissan 9-speed is amber in color. What I noticed earlier on the pan here, and then even after the new pan was installed, that there's a little bit of red fluid, a little bit of red residue, and we'll try and show you right here. It may be hard to see on camera, and I've already cleaned this up just because I wanted to follow and see if there was any leaking. But there's a little bit of red there, and when I was cleaning up, the brand new transmission pan had some red fluid on it as well. Now with these Nissans, transmission fluid is amber and your transfer case is red. That makes it pretty easy to diagnose that we have a leak coming from our transfer case. I've been on the forums a little bit and have seen that there have been a few guys that have already had to replace the input seal on their transfer case, and that's what we're going to be doing today. This is going to be a big project. We're probably going to have to support the transmission, pull the subframe, pull the cross member for my sphere skid plates, disconnect drive shafts, disconnect the wiring harness, and then we'll be able to access the Torx bolts that hold the transfer case to the transmission. We'll probably also have to, at a minimum, remove this crossover tube from the exhaust. I'm hoping we don't have to drop the whole exhaust to gain access, but it looks like we may be able just to disconnect this 90-degree bend here, and hopefully that should give us enough clearance to drop everything. We got a quote from the Nissan dealer to do this. If I recall correctly, it was like $1,300 or $1,400. We said, no, we'll do this ourselves, and we'll make a YouTube video for you guys in case any of you guys run into the same situation. If you can tell, I'm really excited about this, so join us. So we got our sphere cross member off, and now we're going to work on the exhaust pipe here. This is, look, we're in Nebraska, and also the truck is a few years old. A little bit of corrosion. We're going to heat these up with an induction heater to take them off. Then we'll probably work on the rear drive shaft. So we ran into some corrosion trying to drop the exhaust. I was not able to separate the 90-degree bend, and also we tried to remove the rear tailpipe, and that was all seized. So what we ended up doing is just dropping the whole exhaust from basically we unbolted the hangers all the way back and then just yeeted it onto the ground. So now we've got a little bit of exposure here. We will start, I think, with the rear drive shaft. Nissans are weird, so there are a number of these third-gen Frontiers that have a single aluminum drive shaft. My truck, for whatever reason, has a steel drive shaft with a carrier bearing. We'll have to probably disconnect the carrier bearing to give us a little bit of slack to push things back and give us room. Check your joints while you're at it. Yeah. Bluetooth drive shaft.
SEMA special.
SEMA build.
SEMA special.
Okay.
All right, good enough.
So now, what those do?
What we're doing now is we've got the rear drive shaft fully disconnected out of the truck. We just disconnected the front drive shaft. So now we are looking, we'll disconnect our harness here and get that out of the way. And we've zip tied our front drive shaft to our secondary cat on the driver's side so that when we drop the cross member, it doesn't fall on us. But basically we're getting ready to drop the cross member. So we're getting close. So we've been poking around a little bit. We have our harness, all the connectors disconnected. We have some brackets that we're gonna remove. Those look to be 10 mil, but we're just gonna, rather than pop the clips, we're just gonna disconnect the brackets out of the transfer case. Now, we're at the point where we're gonna start working on actually pulling the transfer case. And one thing that we found is that the bolts at the transmission / transfer case mount here, you can drop them fully down and they are loose. So this is essentially just floating at the moment, aside from being connected to the transmission. And we think that we may be able to pull the transfer case without having to drop the subframe, which would be really nice. So we're gonna give that a go and see what happens. There are a number of bolts here and they appear to be T50s, so for Torx. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's probably 8 or 9 of them. Getting them on this side might be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see how that goes. But I think we're almost ready to start breaking the transfer case free and separating it. The only thing we have to do before that is support the transmission. And what we are planning to do is use a piece of 2x4 plywood, and we're gonna put it on our nice new transmission pan and hopefully not crack it. We're making good progress. And I think we've been at this for about an hour and a half now. It's not too bad of a job. It's a little, so far it's been a little bit cumbersome and exploratory because we've never done this before. But hopefully this video helps you guys take some notes and figure out how to do it the easy way after we do it the hard way. So we got actually, we got all of the Torx bolts loose right now. There are some really tricky ones to get to. You're gonna need a number of extensions, and 2 swivels should be enough to do it. The top left-hand one is very tricky, and then on the inside here, there are 2, most all but 2 of them thread in this way. There are 2 that thread in this way, and so these 2 are pretty tricky. Probably be easier if we pulled the front drive shaft, but we're just leaving it for now. I'm cracking the brackets for the wiring harness loose, and then I think we should be ready to drop the transfer case. And actually, what I'm doing right now is Kyle told me to drain the transmission fluid, which is smart, so make it a little bit lighter. So we're gonna do that right now. He's a little grody. Never. Good. There it comes. That's the culprit. So we managed to get all the bolts free and bring the transfer case down. It's actually not too heavy. Kyle and I brought it down without much trouble. The transfer case seal definitely is the problem. Michael took some video already, but what it looks like is some grime is able to get its way up and through this like surfacing gasket here. And I mean, the inside is actually very clean, but there is a little bit of grime kind of that rides on the shaft right next to the lip of the seal. So that must have just gotten in there somehow and wore it down over time. We have the replacement seal and we're gonna pull it. So typically these transfer cases, you got a big, huge female spline shaft here, and your seal, you know, you're not gonna be able to get like a seal removal tool out. So what a lot of guys will do is they'll take something like a drywall screw, and then they'll screw it in on the side, and then use a slide hammer or something to pop it out. And so that's what we're gonna do. You wanna be really careful if you do that. You don't wanna mark or scratch the sides. You don't wanna mark or scratch the shaft either. You want nice smooth surfaces. If you do it like we're gonna do it, just be very careful. Thanks to a good old carpenter's hammer. This is the part number. Shout out to Dayton at our local Nissan dealership. So we got our old seal out, we got our new seal in. It kind of wanted to wobble a little bit, and we don't have a deep enough tool to hammer it in. Some guys I've seen use like a PVC tube, and then they're able to hammer it in. We had a race that didn't work, so Kyle had his thumb kind of holding it in place so it wouldn't wobble its way, and then I was able to tap it in, and we have the seal flush with the machine surface here, so it shouldn't be, you know, sideways or anything like that. It should be pretty straight on. So we're gonna clean up, make sure that there's no dirt and debris, and then we're gonna hoist it back up and get it loosely attached, and then we're probably gonna be done for the day today. So with a little bit of finagling, we got the transfer case back into place, and the transfer case mounting bolts are all snugged. We just have to do the bolts for our transmission cross member. We will then put the drive shaft back in and the exhaust, and then connect the front drive shaft, and then this job is all done. Aside from getting to the transfer case seal, it's very easy. You know, depending on your level of corrosion, you might run into some issues, kind of like we did with the exhaust, which would be a great time to do a cap back if we had one, but we don't. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this is helpful. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next.